All right. Hello and welcome everyone. Normally, obviously, I do a lot of Warframe content, and occasionally there are some random other videos. But for those of you that usually watch the stream or have seen the stream, you are probably very aware that I play a good bit of Yu-Gi-Oh, especially recently in Magic the Gathering and a bunch of other things as well. And I finally, after going to it was one YCS and then two regionals, got my invite to the WCQ, I believe it is, for North America. So that's really awesome, and I got that with my absurd 59 card Danger Orcust deck. So this deck is wild, and it is 59 cards, so obviously there may be a few problems with it, but it worked so well. At the tournament, it cut to top 24, and I got 18th. So that was fantastic. It was a really good tournament. It was held at the Collector's Store in the St. Louis area. So if anyone is looking for a good store to play some locals at, that is where I play locals very often. And I would go check them out. But let's jump into this profile so we can talk about this wild, wild deck. So like I said, this is a Danger Orcust deck. So we are playing the good Dangers, the good chubby boy. We got one Danger Tsuchinoko, or three Danger Tsuchinoko, three Danger Jackalope, the good bun, and then three Danger Nessie. These all do essentially the same thing. Nessie looks for the bunny and the snake and the bunny summon a thing to the field, and kind of no matter what. You discard them, and they get real good effects. And then we have one Danger Mothman. So Mothman's discard effect is not super amazing for this deck, but it's not terrible either. And the most important thing about him is that he's level 4. So you usually summon him off of Jackalope, because Jackalope, when he's discarded, can go summon any of these guys except for himself from the deck. So he's really good because he's level 4, and that comes up pretty often. In terms of Orcust monsters I'm running, I ran 3 Harp Horror. Harp Horror is the main boy you want to see in your opening hand, because he can just be discarded for the combo, and then you get kind of an extension on the combo that is really hard to out. And pretty much every time I did that version of it, it was just basically completely unbeatable. It's absurd. So we have that, and then we have 2 of the Orcust Symbol Skeleton. I run 2 of this. You only technically need 1, but in the event that you draw this card, or in the event that your opponent banishes one of these with like Called by the Grave or something, it's really, really nice to have a backup. So I'm running 2 of that, and for pretty much the exact same reasons, I'm running 2 Orcust Nightmare. This card is kind of, it's like 3 or 4 times more important to run 2 of, because you absolutely have to summon this card with Mermaid. And you can technically summon one other card with Mermaid, but it's just not going to work out for you. It has to be an Orcust name that you summon, and this is the only one you can summon with Mermaid. So you got to run 2, so you hopefully don't draw both of them. And then finally, we have one World Legacy World Wand. This is basically an Orcust monster, and this is the thing that extends your combo and gets you the final little piece of it. Basically, you use Orcust Nightmare to send this if you've already got the Harp Horror. And then we have the other card that you can technically summon with Mermaid, which is Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. So the really good thing about Nightmare Corruptor Ibli is that she is a 1-card full combo that chain blocks on Mermaid. So if you normal summon this, make Mermaid, and then you go chain link 1 Mermaid, chain link 2 Ibli, your opponent can't Ash your Mermaid or Ogre it or any of those types of effects. They can still Veiler it and Impermanence it, which if they got it, they got it. Nothing to be done about that. But being able to be immune to some of the most popular hand traps in the meta, I think is really good for Ibli, and I would honestly consider going to 60 cards and playing a third of Ibli, but we're going to have a few instances of that where I just literally could not decide on the last card. Then non-Orcust monsters, we've got 3 Neospace Connector. He is so broken. This is also a 1-card combo, as long as you did not draw the Aqua Dolphin, because Neospace Connector summons Aqua Dolphin. They have to use a hand trap on Neospace Connector, so if they Ash Neospace Connector, there's a bunch of ways to extend out of it and still get a full combo. But basically, Neospace Connector summons Aqua Dolphin, and then Aqua Dolphin will check their hand for hand traps. So if they don't use the hand trap on Connector, I'm going to get rid of it one way or another. So this always eats a hand trap pretty much, and it is really amazing for that. And then we have 1 Dark Grepher. Dark Grepher, I didn't see him that much, obviously, because I'm playing such a high card count. I'm not going to see everything every time. But he performed pretty well. I've pretty much only ever used him as an extender, where I discard a high-level monster, usually Danger Nessie, and then special summon him, and then he's good for extending. I did that once, I believe, with Neospace Connector, and then that was full combo, and I won. So that was really good. And then another one-card full combo is Phantom Skyblaster. We're only allowed to play one of these, so of course we're playing one of these. This just summons a token, and then you go off. You go into Nightmare Phoenix, go into Nightmare Mermaid, do combo, and hopefully you've got Called by the Grave if they've got Interruption, because you can't chain block with this on Mermaid. And then, of course, we run the Phantom Knight engine because you have to for the combo. 2 Cloak, which I know a lot of people run 1 Cloak, but again, just like with Symbol Skeleton, I really hate drawing one of these because you don't usually get to double Fogblade if you can't send this to the graveyard. And then we have the 2 Boots, which of course we are searching with the Cloak. It's also notable with the amount of traps that I run to search with the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. Having an extra Cloak is actually really nice just for that stuff. And then also just to summon off of like Fogblade's effect later and all that. And then we are running hand traps. I'm running 3 Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is insanely good. It's especially good in the worst matchup I feel for this deck, which is True Draco. Unfortunately, I literally did not see Ghost Ogre all day. Did not draw it in any game all day long. I really wish I had. It would have made my games a lot easier. I believe at least one of my ties, I went 5-1-2. I got 5 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties. I believe this would have been a really, really good tiebreaker in one of my ties, which is against True Draco, and probably would have gotten me out of would have bailed me out of a lot of situations. Then I ran 2 Ash Blossom. So this is another card where I was like, maybe I should play a third of this. And that could have decided my 60th card, but I did not. And this I saw twice throughout the day, and it was pretty good. Ash is just like really generic and good against pretty much any deck, so that worked out for me. And then now into spell cards. We'll scoop these up. Spell cards, the Orcust spell that we run, Orcust Babble. This is just the field spell. Basically, it makes all of your Orcust effects quick, and that's extremely powerful because it means you can play on your opponent's turn, and they don't like that. That is the thing that makes Orcust really oppressive. So if you're going to want to remove anything from your opponent's board, like right off the bat, like if you've got an MST the Babble, because then you don't get like mega interrupted and just like ruined by Dingirsu. And besides that, I ran 3 instant fusion. So these, the target for these is his name is Thousand Eyes Restrict. So you summon this, and it will, if you're going second, it will take one of their monsters or attempt to take one of their monsters, which can bait an interruption. Or alternatively, this is just another material. You only need 2 material to do full combo. So this is basically a material you summon, take one of their things, and then you just link it all for full combo. And that is extremely powerful because it helps you going second majorly. So that was really good. I saw this a few times throughout the day, and it was always amazing. Was never unhappy to pay the life points to use this card. And then we have the Sky Striker engine. I ran 3 Engage, which is fantastic because we're searching with Engage. Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones by itself is full combo because you make Akari, get Hornet Drones back, Hornet Drones, then you have 2 material. Boom, done. There's full combo. You can go off from there. But also, in addition to Hornet Drones, I also played Sky Striker Mecha Eagle Booster. So the really good thing about Eagle Booster is if you start with Engage, you do Engage, Hornet Drones make Kagari, get back Engage, get Eagle Booster, and as long as you have an extender, like a Danger, you can use the Danger and then link into your Nightmare and then link into Mermaid and then activate Mermaid, and Eagle Booster acts as a Called by the Grave for Mermaid, but it works on every hand trap they could possibly have. Like, you can't Veiler over it, you can't Impermanence. If they're gonna try and negate that, literally it has to be you activate Mermaid, they go Veiler, and then you activate Eagle Booster, and they activate another Veiler. And if they got it, they got it, but this was the nuts every single time I do it. Literally got called a degenerate, like, in a joking way, by one player, because, like, he just could not believe I was running this bullshit. And that was fantastic. Besides that, we just have some extremely good one-ofs in here. We've got Foolish Burial. This can get you to extended combo, or just get you to like a kind of half combo if you get interrupted like twice. So that's really good. Reinforcement of the Army. This searches for the connector, the Neospace Connector. So this is just another copy of Neospace Connector, essentially. However, sometimes you will use this to search one of the Phantom Knights if you have one of them in your hand already, because you can do Cloak and then Special Boots and get full combo that way. So sometimes that is also a thing, but pretty much every time you're summoning Neospace Connector, realistically. But later games, sometimes it comes up. Then we have 3 Called by the Grave. Obviously, I've been talking about hand traps a lot. This stops hand traps. It does not stop Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence was the absolute juice all day. I saw it a ton. It was especially important in my final round against True Draco, where I used it in Game 1 and Game 2 to negate an Inspector border on my turn. It is insanely powerful, and it's the best against all of your worst matchups with this deck. And there's literally, I don't even know if I would play this deck if I didn't have Infinite Impermanence. Like, straight up, this card is just the absolute destructo juice. It is absolutely incredible. I don't think I could ever cut it from this list, no matter what. Under no circumstances would I ever not play it. And then we have 3 of Orcust Crescendo. So this is wild because most people are playing 1 of this card, but I realized that I always wanted to see this card, because no matter what, you want to play this card. You want it on turn 1. And if you have it in your hand, but you have to discard it for like Nightmare Mermaid, maybe your combo turns out that way, or it discards off a danger, that's fine because it has a grave effect. In the grave, it literally searches for any of your Orcust cards and adds them to your hand, and you can activate that on your opponent's turn to get past the restriction on this card. So it's just amazing no matter what. Like, you search this with Galatea. I had one game where I had 3 of these set on the back row. And I just it was just a crush at that point. Like, it was just impossible to get through. I was just protecting Galatea and just not letting my opponent do anything. And it was amazing because I could just always search into another combo piece that I was shuffling back with Galatea, and it's really, really good. If you open this and combo, you have 5 interruptions, and your opponent starts with a 6-card hand, so that's pretty good. And then besides that, also, probably a little controversially, I ran 3 Fogblade. This is another card where I'm just not unhappy to open it, and if I open 1 of these, I usually end with 3 in the back row, which means I have 3 monster negates in my back row, and that's pretty powerful, turns out, when most of the meta is monster effects. So I was really happy to see this card pretty much every single time, and I always wanted to set 3. However, the one other Phantom Knight card and the last card in the deck is the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigadine. So this is the last card in the main deck, and the most important thing about this card is that it's level 4. Obviously, that was the important part about this card before the combo we used to play got banned. But it is still extremely good because of the card it goes into, which we're going to talk about in a second. Let's get into the extra deck. So extra deck, obviously I run Kagari for the Sky Striker combo, and then I run double Mermaid. Sometimes you just need to make another Mermaid and do the combo again. That just happens in long games, and I'm playing enough materials to do that in long games, so that just happens. In addition to that, I have to run a Nightmare Cerberus and a Nightmare Phoenix. I have to run both of these because sometimes I do the combo twice, and you're going to need 2 materials to do that. And then, because the games kind of go long sometimes, I'm running triple Galatea. I very luckily got my last ulti right before the tournament, and it was the sauce all day. Galatea is incredible. The one thing about the combo that I would note is that I feel like it's never correct to end the combo on the next card, which is Long Girsu, if you don't know what your opponent is playing. So if you end on Babel in your field zone, on your opponent's turn, you can immediately Galatea and set the counter trap, and you can't use it during that opponent's turn, but that's a lot better than Long Girsu, especially if you happen to be in your worst matchup, because your worst matchup is True Draco. Long Girsu literally does nothing against True Draco. Completely useless because you don't make it in the extra monster zone. So I would never just blind make Long Girsu. I think that's just a mistake. The most amazing card in the deck, though, is Din Girsu, the Orcust of the Evening Star. The reason this deck exists. This card is absurdly powerful. If it has material, you can protect any of your cards on your whole field from destruction, and that's not once per turn. And when this gets summoned, you can get things back from your banish and put it under it, as long as they are machines, or dark machines, I believe it is. Which is your Orcust cards. And then also you have the option to send 1 card from your opponent's side of the field to the graveyard. Of note with this card that a lot of people make the mistake of, this effect doesn't target, and you choose on resolution. So if you choose a card and you're going to send it to the graveyard and your opponent tries to respond, they can't. So they're already letting it resolve when you choose, so they can't respond to it if they just don't like your choice, and it's absolutely busted because of that. It is just incredible. This is the card that you also summon. You summon it on your turn and then also on your opponent's turn, and it is the absolute juice. And then for the Phantom Knight stuff, we used Rusty Bardish. Rusty Bardish we go into in the normal Orcust combo, and then you set a bunch of Fog Blades, and you get a bunch of material, and it makes your board amazing. If this card ever gets banned, this deck literally dies. And then we have, for the last link, we have Boral Sword. Boral Sword, make Boral Sword for game. It attacks over problems. It just does the thing. Like, if you need to kill your opponent, Boral Sword's your boy. That's just what he does. Then, of course, we have that Thousand Eyes Restrict. But the final card in the deck, and that I am still playing, even though it is not part of the Degenerate combo that is no longer allowed, is Time Thief Redoer. And this card, oh my god. Every time I made this card, it was busted. Absolutely busted. So this card is also non-targeting removal, and it sends cards back to the top of the deck, and then it steals cards off the top of your opponent's deck. So you make this with 2 level 4s, which is Shade Brigandine, always, and then another level 4 that you happen to have is extra material. A lot of times Mothman, every once in a while it'll be Neospace Connector. And basically, this is another interruption for your board that you use instead of having one of your Fog Blades, because you get Shade Brigandine to make this instead of one of your Fog Blades. But this is like a 2400 attack monster, which is an issue for a lot of decks, and it comes back every single turn it uses its effect. It can blink out of board wipes and other problems, and it just makes it so your opponent just can't do anything. Like, it jumps away, it steals their cards. It's just an endless source of incredible shit. One of the really good things about Redoer, by the way, whenever you're not using its effect immediately on summon like you would in the old combo, is you have a Shade Brigandine and the monster under it. Then on your opponent's turn, they say normal summon Gazelle. This happened a lot. You use this card to put Gazelle back on top of their deck, and then on your standby phase, you take their Gazelle and put it under Redoer, so they don't get it. Like, they're not going to get it back because it's going to be under Redoer until like their next turn, so they're not going to draw it. So if you're spinning back a really important card onto the top of their deck and you're like, well, I don't want them to draw it, they are not going to do that. Redoer is going to steal it off the top of their deck as long as you remember your trigger during standby. But that card, amazing. Absolutely incredible. I think that card is just uncuttable. Like, it overperformed literally all day long. Then we have the side deck. 3 Pankratops. I wasn't super happy with my side deck. I feel like it could be better. But 3 Pankratops was good. Summoned it a few times, and it was always just as good as Pankratops is. It's like the best card that you can only ever sideboard, because it just is a 2600 beater that also pops cards. This was especially good in every Salamangreat matchup I ever summoned it in, because they have a hard time getting to 2600 attack, just straight up. And it attack just like you attack in, they protect something with Balinks, and then you just get to choose a thing on their field that you're going to use this effect for to destroy. So that's really good. Then we have Twin Twisters. You literally have to play Twin Twisters in your side or your main because of Mystic Mine, which I thankfully did not run into all day. But in the event that you run into it, you're going to want to be able to pop spells and traps without using monster effects. And also, this is really good in the worst matchup for this deck, which is True Draco. And then we have Evenly Matched. This card, this is the last card I put into the side deck, and I don't know if I will ever remove it. It instantly wins the True Draco matchup, and I saw it in my final round, and I literally drew all 3 of them, and it was amazing. Literally could not have been better. Like, I literally drew 3 of this card, and it was absolutely the juice. Like, I banished everything for like 2 turns to stall, drew combo, and then I impermanenced an Inspector Border and just gamed. And it was absolutely incredible. Card that really underperformed, Droll and Lockbird. This is probably the card I would definitely replace. It's good against Thunder Dragons, which was one of my ties, but I didn't see it in that matchup, unfortunately, and I just think it's not good enough against enough decks in order for me to have it in the sideboard. I don't know what this should be. Maybe like a Crush Card Virus or something, because Crush Card Virus kind of destroys Salamangreats, but the Salamangreat matchup is already really good. I'd probably try and figure out something for this that's really good against True Draco. Maybe Typhoon. That would probably be what I might change this out for. And then finally, the card that you literally have to play in your side deck, Lancia. Lancia instantly wins the game in the mirror. If you discard this card and your opponent tries to do combo, they literally can't. This also is really good in the Thunder Dragon matchup. Unfortunately, again, I did not see it in that match. Yeah. This card is just like absolutely degenerate. You discard it, and then neither of you can banish stuff. It is really important that neither of you can banish stuff. So if you are the Orcust player discarding this, please be careful, because that can really ruin your day. So yeah, Artifact Lancia, really good. I was really happy with the deck overall. And like honestly, I don't think I would really consider cutting it down too much. I might go down to like maybe 55 cards, but like honestly, it was really consistent all day just because I play so many 1-card starters, and I was extremely happy with it. So before I end the video, I am going to show the combo once, because obviously this is not normally a Yu-Gi-Oh channel and people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? So at the very least, I'm going to show the combo and how it works for anyone that wants to know. So I'm going to switch over to that real quick. Okay, so set up for doing the kind of extended combo that people don't usually see. So this is technically a 2-card combo, but there is a slightly lesser version of this that you can do with Ibli and any 1 card. But if it's Harp Horror, it is considerably better. So I'm just going to show this 2-card hand. Normally you draw 5 for anyone who's not aware, but normal summon Ibli, link Ibli into our Nightmare Mermaid, which goes up into the extra monster zone. And then I'll just put my graveyard right here. And then our effects, we will do Nightmare Mermaid Chainlink 1, which we discard for cost 4, and then Ibli Chainlink 2. So the way chain blocking works is basically there are certain cards that don't target and they have to respond directly. So they can't respond to Mermaid and they can't negate Ibli, or most of them can't. So you do Mermaid Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Ibli, and then Mermaid will go summon from the deck, and Ibli will go onto your opponent's side of the field, which we'll make a note on a little bit later. So this will go over to the other side of the field. I'll just put it up here. So then Mermaid is going to summon out of the deck. We are going to get our Orcust Nightmare. Orcust Nightmare is then going to be immediately used as link fodder, and then we are going to get another card out of our deck. So we're linking these two together. Graveyard down here into Galatea. We make Galatea up here, and then we used Orcust Nightmare's effect. Oh, sorry, we discarded this card. Sorry, we use Orcust Nightmare's effect targeting Galatea. That's banished, and then we will dump World Wand because we already have the Harp Horror. Usually, you dump Harp Horror if you don't have it, but if you do have it, you dump World Wand because he is used for the extender at the end. But then we banish the Harp Horror. Banishing Harp Horror will summon a Orcust monster directly from the deck, and we always summon Simple Skeleton. And then we are going to link up after we use Galatea's effect. You do get a choice on what you're setting with Galatea's effect, and you're always shuffling back the Orcust Nightmare in this combo because you need Horror for later. But Galatea, we can either set the Babel, which is what usually happens, or we can set the counter trap for the Orcust. And for the Babel, I'm just going to put it down over here so you guys can see it. You set it first and then activate it because Galatea does set the card, which is important to note because some people will like rule shark you on that. So make sure and say set and then activate to your opponent if you're in like a tournament, because sometimes people are assholes. Anyway, link these two into a link 3 because we had the link 2 and the generic 1 material into Rusty Bardish. And then Rusty Bardish is a busted card that does a thing. So we are going to we're going to send Cloak to the graveyard, and then we can set our Shade Brigandine. So Shade Brigandine, this is really worth noting. If you already have a trap in your graveyard, you can't activate this card the turn it is set. But if you have no traps in your graveyard, you can immediately activate it. So we'll set that for now. And we don't have any traps in our graveyard, so that's amazing for us. And then we can banish Cloak. And when we banish Cloak, we can go search for Boots. So searching for Boots, we are going to get you old Boots. And then Boots, because we have Rusty Bardish on the field, can special summon himself. We'll special summon him over here. So now we have additional materials, but we are going to go for Banish Simple Skeleton to resummon the Galatea. And then we are going to activate the Shade Brigandine. and then we are going to banish the World Wand, summoning Harp Horror. So Harp Horror will summon right here. Then these two are level 4, so you can overlay them. And it's really important that one of these is a trap. You overlay these into Time Thief Redoer. And when you do this, Rusty Bardish will trigger because you Xyz summoned a dark monster under him. And then that will allow you to pop the Ibly on your opponent's side of the field. Now, it's really worth noting that whenever Ibly is on your field, you're only allowed to link summon for your special summons. In certain matchups, you want to leave this on their field. If you're against Altergeist, it is a huge fucking pain in the ass for them to have an Ibly on the side of their field, so don't pop it, because it is optional to do Rusty's effect. However, if you are against the Mirror, obviously they can do full combo with it, and if you are against Salamandrates, they can make Balinks with this. You don't want either of those things to happen, so in those matchups, definitely pop it. It is really notable that you always leave this on a Sky Striker opponent's field because they fucking hate that shit. It's also amazing to do that against Sky Strikers because if you link into Mermaid, this summons to their field, and then they can't activate to their cards, so that's really good. But let's just assume that we're going against like Salads or the Mirror or whatever, and we'll put this into the graveyard because Rusty Bardish can just pop it. So that's fantastic. And then the other busted thing about Dingirsu I did not talk about when I was just talking about the cards. You could overlay on top of your Orcust Xyz monsters, and then Dingirsu's effect will activate. And you will put Symbol Skeleton under him, which is really important because it gets it out of Banished. And then we can link these two and put this in the graveyard into an additional Galatea. Galatea is the one I always make blind. Occasionally you have another extender, and you can make long Girsu here. You have the option to, but I don't do that, usually. And then, because Boots is in the graveyard, we can banish Boots and go get a Fogblade. Obviously, instead of making a Redoer, you can do another Fogblade if you'd prefer that. But I think Redoer is better than having a Fogblade in like 99% of situations. Pretty much. And then, this is our end board. But it's not completely obvious, especially to people who have not gone against this deck before, what all we have to do. There are a number of people that will assume that you just have a Fogblade and a Redoer, but because of Babel, you can do a lot of things on their turn. So, first and foremost, you pass turn, and then they draw, and then standby phase, you activate Galatea, and you'll shuffle back your wand back into your deck, and go get the counter trap. Orcust Crescendo. So, you set this, you cannot use it the turn you set it. So Galatea does not just give you the power to use this on their turn now, as much as I would love for that to be the case. So that is not a thing you can do. However, unless your opponent asks, they can just assume over there in their mind that you can totally activate that. And there were a couple people that absolutely thought that I could use Crescendo on them during the turn that I set it. And I absolutely could not do that. And if they had asked me, I would have told them I can't use it. So that did not work out for them. But basically, now what we have is we have a Fogblade, and then we can, say they normal summon Gazelle. We Fogblade it, and then they link into Balinks. And then Time Thief Redoer, you detach both, use both effects, and then you put the Balinks back into their extra deck, and then this is blinked out of this zone to banished, and it'll come back during the end phase. And these two cards go to your graveyard, which is incredibly important because you can use them. So we have this that'll come back at the end, and then you have this open zone here. So if they somehow survive, like Gazelle getting Fogbladed and then turning it into Balinks, and then Balinks going back to their extra deck, you still have two interruptions. So you have, whenever they summon like two things or just a thing that you don't want to have happen, you can banish Symbol Skeleton, so this pile back here, and target Dingirsu. And as long as they don't have Call by the Grave, which sometimes they do, you summon Dingirsu right here in the arrow that Rusty's pointing to, and that will activate the chain links here. So a really important note about this that a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually chain block Rusty Bardish if your opponent summoned Phantasme against you. So if your opponent summoned Phantasme against you, which protects from targeting essentially by them discarding cards, you can actually do Chainlink 1 Rusty Bardiche, Chainlink 2 Dingirsu, and they actually can't respond and negate the Rusty Bardiche, so you can use like Rusty to target the Phantasmi or whatever else you want, and they can't negate it, and then use Dingirsu's effect. If you only have one card to pop, and they have a Phantasmi or whatever, then you can just like do Rusty's effect, and then Dingirsu's effect will either reattach the Symbol Skeleton so that you have destruction protection, which is good in some matchups, or you can send one of their cards to disrupt their combo further. It is a really versatile combo that I absolutely love. Also, really worth noting about this board, specifically because you made Time Thief Redoer, if you just like completely shut them down and they're like, all right, I have no cards left to use, and they didn't do anything, like they're done. Literally, this comes back at end of turn, and you can put it wherever. So we'll put it like over here. They pass to you, and you can straight up just like attack for game, pretty much. Like you've got, what is it? 447, 67 game. You've got game on board with a counter trap. Yeah, and you can use Galatea to get more, and you can banish Harp Horror to get more if you need to get over like one thing. You banish Harp Horror, summon another Symbol Skeleton, that's an additional 1200. And then if you need even more damage, but you won't be able to use the counter trap if you do this technically, you can overlay into Dingirsu, and that's another 2600, and then you get 2 destructions. Like it's really easy to follow up kill people if you get full board, turns out, especially if you get Redoer, because that 2400 real matters a lot. So yeah, that is Danger Orcust 59 cards. I really enjoyed it, and it worked out really well for me. Would not play this deck. I think it's really good. I don't think it's necessarily the best deck, because I do think Salamangreats is generally actually better still, but I like this deck a whole lot more. So yeah, that's gonna kind of do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And also for the regular peeps on the channel, if you guys want me to do more Yu-Gi-Oh content, I would love to, now that I have got the top 24 at a regional and got my invite and don't feel like I'm absolute garbage at the game. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow.